In the latest season of Rick and Morty, in the episode That's a Morte, Morty uncovers the truth about the delicious spaghetti Rick has been feeding the family. It turns out that when inhabitants on another planet commit suicide, their internal organs turn into tasty spaghetti. Morty's conscience persuades Rick to tell him the names of the dead people so he can feel better. He then goes to one of the dead guy's funerals to pay his respects and to try to make things right by telling everyone there that at least his death made his family happy.
It brought us together. Lawrence brought us together. It just felt wrong not having anyone know that.
When he gets home, his family is pissed at him for being morally right, and they wish they could live in the ignorant bliss that they once had.
But it should also be noted to Morty that it's not cool to tattle.
Dad!
They were delicious!
So keep eating them!
We can't now!
Because of you! Sorry.
Morty, that was terrible parenting. You did the quote-unquote right thing. We are technically very happy to be better informed.
Morty then gets invited to the alien planet where the president is interested in profiting off of this new discovery. They allow someone in a hospital to end their own life, only because they can now benefit from it. The interesting distinction in this is that if the alien people just die, then their body just decomposes as normal. But if they kill themselves, that process is actually what causes the change in their organs to become delicious. So the government can't simply kill any citizens they deem disposable, but they have to create a system where euthanasia is encouraged. Now the Smith family can enjoy their ethical spaghetti because those who died consented to having their remains consumed afterwards. And Morty becomes the face of this industry. But feeling uneasy about this outcome, he talks to the president with Rick about trying a more humane approach.
I mean, what if we make something like a person? Like, Rick, you're always doing clones, right?
What are you suggesting here? A sped-up lifespan and indoctrination program? Limiting their exposure to the world and convincing them that becoming spaghetti is their destiny?
This ultimately doesn't work because they are still too human and have their own desires and sense of individual rights. So Rick devises a way to make them even less human. This subhuman factory farm is probably the height of the direct parallels within the modern veganism debate. Vegans will often apply human ethics to animals to try and show how our perceptions of animal cruelty would be different if it were to members of our own species and not to animals. The goal is to emphasize that while the level of consciousness and self-awareness is different between species, the experience of pain, unfortunately, is not.
Kill yourself.
Kill yourself.
Kill yourself.
Kill yourself. Kill yourself.
Kill yourself.
Kill yourself.
The alien society starts to collapse as they could no longer fulfill the high demand of spaghetti. Rick asks for just one more person that might want to kill themselves. He finds this old man that has only 2 months to live and agrees to let Rick use him to end the spaghetti trade. Rick live streams to the whole population that this man is about to kill himself and tells them to watch. As he dies, Rick broadcasts a 2.5-minute montage of this man's life. It shows him growing up and falling in love, inviting his crush into his room to show her his dreams of wanting to become an architect. They have a long-distance relationship that doesn't work after he cheats on her. He ends up flunking out of architect school and gives up on life. Over time, he eventually gets reinvigorated and pursues his dreams once again, this time by creating his own toy brand and inspiring others like he once was. He reconnects with his lost love, and they grow old together until she passes away. After watching this heartfelt insight into his life, when Rick cuts him open to show everyone the spaghetti, everyone is sickened.
Bon appetit.
With an emotional connection to their food, they can't consume it like they once did. This is precisely what vegans do. They try and tap into people's empathy by showing compilations of the horrors inside factory farms and how anthropomorphized animals can be.
You don't want to know enough about a hot dog, because if you know a little bit about how a hot dog gets made, all you're going to do is ruin the 4th of July.
What have I done? My entire life has been murder. I have been standing on the shoulders of sacrifices made by people that I will never meet.
The writers acknowledge that they too are hypocrites that just want to live in ignorant bliss. Like the Smith family, they recognize the ethics, but just don't want to do the work to live by them. They touch on a variety of talking points throughout the episode, like back when Morty goes to the funeral. It seems like they're making fun of vegans, showing how they virtue signal and only want to do the right thing so they can look more righteous to others and make themselves feel good. But at the same time, they show the cognitive dissonance that many of us have.
But he was delicious. I hope that helps make it right.
People try to justify their actions by saying the momentary taste pleasure they get is worth the life of suffering forced to create it. This episode also brings up the fact that when Morty tries to do the right thing, this inadvertently causes other suffering to happen.
What is all this?
Cans of spaghetti selling out to every neighboring planet. Want to go see how ethical it is down there?
This touches on the talking point that vegans still cause animal suffering in the production of their own food. Suffering is inherent to life. There's no way to avoid it, only minimizing it. People don't seem to care about animal welfare until vegans start talking about it. Then everyone is suddenly concerned about the squirrel and gopher population. Since vegans can't reach the impossible standard of stopping 100% of animal suffering, people feel it's okay to not take any step in that direction.
All right, we had to put our fingers on the scale. A little. But if we stop this, the supply chain crumbles and kills the global economy. How many people will suffer then?
Okay, tough problem. Definitely a spicy meatball.
This parallels the argument that if vegans got what they wanted, thousands of farmers' livelihood would collapse and their families would suffer, and all the animals they care so much about would now starve and die. This hypothetical scenario of the world magically becoming vegan overnight is, of course, completely illogical, but people defeat this straw man and then think they've made a hit against veganism. A change towards veganism, like all change, happens gradually over several years and decades. The invention of automobiles or the internet were certainly massive changes that would disrupt society if created overnight. But the slow implementation of them now make them a necessity for much of the world. So obviously, people would be able to adapt to the new standard of not torturing animals for food.
God, what was the point?
If you're asking whether this was a story about right and wrong, the answer is, I don't care.
So what do we do?
Cells consume, Morty. Life itself is wrong, and that means death is right.
The episode ends in a way that I imagine much of the writers feel when Rick brings home Salisbury steak instead.
Is it actually Salisbury steak?
Do you want to know or not?
No thanks.
Just so you know, it's really bad.
Whatever you say.
Seriously.
Everyone wants to continue to do an immoral thing because it's common practice and it takes effort to change habits. But perpetuating suffering just because it's the norm doesn't seem like the most ethical position to have.
Well, I guess I'll go to my room since everyone hates me now.
Oh, sorry. Good night, Morty.
Good night, Morty.
Good night, Morty.
If you want to support this channel even further, consider joining my Patreon. You can participate in monthly Q&As and get insight to what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you again soon.